Hello. Hello. I think it's okay. If the audio is echoing, please let me know. I don't think it's echoing, but it is echoing on my end. Well, Keiko-san, please let me know if it's echoing or not. All right. I cannot replicate the issue. All right. Thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. This is the live streaming where I talk about Sashiko while doing the Sashiko stitching. This is not a lecture, this is not a webinar, this is not a tutorial, so I am not going to answer the question about techniques, but I am happy to answer the questions about Sashiko culture, Sashiko stories, and as long as I don't have to stop stitching while answering their questions, I'll be happy to answer those questions. Few announcements. I have few announcements. It's all the same, but I updated the workshop schedule for 2026. So I have only 2 opportunities at this moment confirmed, but I don't plan to offer that many times next year as well again. So it'd be great if you could check that out before it comes to be filled. And actually that's about it. It's the workshop, the classes for 2025 is completely done. So another year is coming, although it's only September, but I guess the year end rather fast than I think. Okay, I will switch the camera. Hello, thank you so much for coming. Although I have not finished the furoshiki yet, so this is the furoshiki I was working on. But I just realized that I prepared the patterns on the fabric, on the denim, and I think I want to wash this. But in order to wash it, I have to kind of stitch this one first. Otherwise, those patterns will be completely off. So I will do that today. It was not my initial plan, but without stitching this, I cannot wash it, and this denim is getting pretty dirty, so today is a little bit different in terms of the project-wise. I had a pretty good discussion this morning with in Japanese live streaming, Japanese Sashiko live streaming. I had a pretty good discussion about Sashiko and art. Either Sashiko, well, some people consider Sashiko as the art already, but there are some other people who do not consider Sashiko as the art. And I think I had a pretty good discussion about what Sashiko, can be. It can be, of course, art, but it is true that some people don't feel that Sashiko is the art. So it's kind of important for us to, not for us, for me to go through what requires to make it as art. And if I have a time, not a time, if my brain does not get fried, I would like to talk about it today. Like, what makes it as the art? What does it require to make it as the art? It's really it's difficult to define what art is, so we have to kind of start from there. At the same time, I don't want to kind of use the art as the kind of silver bullet or ticket to say whatever is fine. I don't want that happen, so it's quite difficult and probably important to to articulate what makes Sashiko as the art. Is it how it looks, or is it the fame? Is it or even me to make it Sashiko as the art, or others who make Sashiko as the art again? Come on. Well, I think in English, though, many people consider Sashiko as the art. And that's kind of like the question that we should not be really even asking. Because in this country, in this culture, art has a very, how can I say that, general idea of being, it's kind of fundamental to respect individualism. When one say that it's art, it's kind of something we cannot even question about it. And, we don't want to judge each other, and we don't want to assume that somebody is doing something different, or assumption is pretty bad in this culture too. So art itself is kind of it's like very much a foundation of this culture, I think. It's the respect to the individualism, it's the respect to the what one likes. At the same time, Sashiko was not born in this culture. Sashiko is probably changing its form in this culture, but it does not mean that it carries the same culture. So I really want to see that how Sashiko will be changing its form over time in this culture. Probably it's not the best material to stitch and talk together. Well, this denim is very tough, so it's not the best material to stitch to begin with. Stitching itself is not that difficult, but pulling the needle out of this fabric is the kind of most difficult part of this stitching on the denim. So, like, for example, is it art that what I'm doing? I mean, some people consider this as not Sashiko too. Those who practice Sashiko with me, they wouldn't probably consider what I'm doing as Sashiko right now. Aloha, thank you so much for coming. So I'm talking about something difficult, not even difficult, something troublesome again. What makes Sashiko, or anything else actually, what brings it to be the art? What is art? Well, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there to define what art is. It's gonna be like a little bit of a nightmare. And it's not my intention to jump in that field, but not a field, that discussion. But I saw that some description saying that I elevated Sashiko to the art. And I believe that. I believe that that kind of phrase exists. But elevated? What does it mean by elevated? Does it mean that Sashiko itself is not good enough? Is it something needs to be elevated to be the art? Or what makes it so much like art if one can choose to elevate it? How can one elevate? Hello. It's complicated topic and there isn't a good answer. Salvador Dali said, Sashiko we practice can be the art when others start accepting it as the art. So it's actually not my decision. And as much as I may think that it's not art, if everybody starts saying that it's art, then I will at some point acknowledge that it is art. But at the same time, that Salvatore Dali is saying that it is art because I say so. That's kind of like a pretty true statement in this culture, I believe. So, yeah, so I don't mind people calling me or calling what I do as the art and then calling me artist. But I don't want them to stop thinking there. Well, what you do is so great as the art. And well, you're such a good artist. And I don't want them to stop thinking because there's a reason that I keep saying Sashiko is not an art. Wow. Did you see that? This might be the first time I see that in this live streaming. Don't do this. Wow, this is not... Oops, don't do this. See, that's why I shouldn't really do the denim while doing the Sashiko live streaming. So I just snapped the needle right now, and it's a very, very bad thing. And it happens because I did not listen to the needle. I should have listened to it, and I did not listen. Do you see that? I turned here very sharply, right? And then I pushed the needle, although needle said probably don't do that. And I was not listening. As the result, it can snap. Hey, well, some other time. Probably I shouldn't. I should focus on listening to the fabric. I'm wrong. Marshall Deuce, I cannot even pronounce his name. He exhibited urinal but said it was an art because an artist he chose to exhibit it, obviously to provoke controversy. So yeah, that's why it's kind of difficult to talk about art. Like, art can carry a lot of message as well. And I believe that Sashiko carries a lot of story, and then it can be used as the vehicle to deliver the message, but I don't want it to use it as the vehicle. It can be used, it can become the vehicle, but I don't want to use it to that. I hope it makes sense. It can be, but I don't like it. It's not that I don't like it. I think the story is something quite hidden. It's not so loud, or it's not like self-claiming for that. Well, but sometimes I have to really focus on that. Focus on I cannot always escape from this topic, because I may one day call myself as an artist. Well, I don't know. I don't see myself doing that, but it could happen. What is going on today? I'm not listening to the needle. That's not good. Just a second. Something's off. Oh, by the way, needle. I know I snapped the needle right now, but it shouldn't be happening. It's really embarrassing things to even share that online. It's a very bad sign that I did not listen to the needle, and it should not happen. Needle itself is very, very strong and also flexible, so they can go through a lot of stress. And sometimes the needle's eye part can snap because of the fabric type. It's the weakest point of the needle around the eye, so it could happen, but like snapping in the middle is quite bad. It's obviously that I was not focusing on stitching, and I was supposed to be focusing on stitching. That's the whole point of this live streaming. So if I cannot focus on stitching, then I shouldn't be stitching that kind of fabric that requires a lot of attention. Not even a lot of attention, like a regular amount of attention. So this kind of like a running stitch itself is a good idea, because that does not require much attention. For denim that is suffer, would you use a longer needle? No, we don't use the different kind of needle. We use only one needle. Once again, it should not happen. It was purely my fault that I was not focusing on stitching. That's another reason I don't do the live streaming and Sashiko on denim, because that could have been avoided if I were kind of not even focusing, listening to the needle. But other than that, the denim shouldn't be an issue. Especially with this needle I'm using, we only use one size, one kind of needle, and once again, this shouldn't be happening, and we have done so many pairs of denim, and it's kind of rare to even happen that. But denim itself is not a problem, needle itself is not a problem. This time, the problem was me. Once again, don't ignore the needle. Needle will tell you what is the best. Not even best, what is something we cannot do. And when they say that, don't ignore that. Well, I mean, That needle has been here a while, so well, it's excuse. No, it's not a good. That's one way to. It's something I have to be very much. Hanse, not reflect, but something that I should take it serious to not to repeat. I mean, I always tell that in my workshop, so yeah, it's kind of embarrassing that I did it on the live streaming. But it's so difficult, like art is so difficult to talk about, and once again, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have picked a topic of art, or either if I were gonna choose that topic, then I shouldn't have chosen the denim to stitch. And that's the ego, right? Like I would like to wash the denim, but if I wash it right now, the pattern I prepare will be washed off. Therefore, let's try to do the. My time for the stitching for this year is pretty limited, so let's try to use this live streaming time to maximize my time to finish denim, and that's the ego. It's my it's my business, you know. It's none of the needles or fabric business, none of Sashiko's business. So I prioritize my business over the needles and fabric, which always end up in a sad result. So yeah. It sounds kind of spiritual. I don't like to be spiritual, but I'm not saying needle really tells something that I should be doing. I mean, if I hear the voice from needle, that's a little different story. But talking to the needle, listening to the needle is very important. And for that, we don't use different needle. We only use one kind of needle. So I wonder how other people stitch on denim, because it's so tough if they don't use the thimble enough. It's too painful, I guess. But yeah, one day I hope that I can kind of draw the line that where is the art and where is not the art. My current position is quite easy, that I keep saying Sashiko is not the art. At least in Japan, or in the environment in the environment I was with Sashiko throughout my life, Sashiko wasn't art. But it is true that Sashiko is becoming the art outside of Japan, or even in Japan. Some people may be saying that Sashiko is the art. Just wanna kind of I wanna see what makes it as the art if so many people shout that it's art. And in my understanding, that's the, I don't want to say fame, but something closer to fame. When others recognize it as the art, it is one good step to be art. And that's kind of sad, though. If one thinks it's art, it can be an art. It's so difficult. I shouldn't be even talking. But in Japanese, I had a pretty good discussion. I think I had a pretty good discussion. But when it comes to the English, this topics becomes so difficult. Does art require to have patron? Like, I think that artists always, not always, but often have somebody who support their living, so they can focus on the, make ends meet. But I don't know if right now how many artists can make their living by just doing their art. And if those artists have to focus on selling their art, then the time that they can focus on their art is very limited. Therefore, I keep saying that I am not the Sashiko artisan or even artist for that matter, because I am too much spending time. I am spending too much time on the marketing, writing, selling, and also teaching. So I am not. I cannot claim myself as the artist, and I mean, for the figure of speech, I claim that, but in reality, I'm not stitching as much as I should be. If Sashiko artisans makes a wall hanging or other piece, they purely decorative, does that makes it art? Maybe. Maybe, and that can be art. But my approach is that that's not my preference. Of course, that can be art, but if they make a jacket, I want the jacket to be something they can wear. So it's up to the people's owner's preference, but if we as the maker can choose the way of being, I want Sashiko to be used almost every day if possible. So Sashiko aiming to be displayed on the wall itself is already off my mainstream. It's not wrong, but it's off the mainstream. And I prefer Sashiko existing in everyday's life. Patrons for artists don't really, yeah, that's what I figured, yeah. That's what I figured. So, artist has to make a living, and I think that art is something that people appreciate. This furoshiki you are stitching, you may not call it art, but some people might call it art. Yeah, that's the discussion begins. That's the whole point. That's the reason I keep talking about this can be the art, this might not be the art. And it's not that important to kind of reach to the conclusion. We don't even need a conclusion. But I just want us to keep thinking what is art, instead of saying like, I made Sashiko art. And that statement itself can be true, and it is true for them, but I want them to know that there are some Sashiko artisans like me who thinks that Sashiko is not art. And it's not because of the humbleness or lack of confidence. It is just the story tells that it's really not the art. That's why it's difficult. This is a discussion that happens all the time in creative communities. I don't think there is an answer. For example, haute couture, I cannot pronounce it again, can be considered as an art, even though it's clothing. Yeah, so once again, there's no answer. There's no answer, and then there's no need to reach to the answer too. It's something we should really leave it open. But I want to kind of have that discussion ongoing, if possible. And as I always say, that it's about the preference, and I want that preference to be kind of deep, not shallow. I don't know how to do it, but sorry, I'm still in shock. I cannot get out of that fact that I snapped needle in the live streaming. maybe first time in my 7-8 years. Maybe. I have to go back and then I have to check every single live streaming, but I don't recall the time that it's so sad and kind of shameful. That really means that I was not stitching. I have not stitching, and I was not ready to listen to the needle. And I feel sorry for the needle, and it's so. Well, that's the beauty of this live streaming. I cannot edit. I cannot change the reality. I cannot change what happened. So, and I could just say, I could pretend that nothing happened, but some people will realize it, and if that will be realized, that's what if somebody will find out. I thought it's better to speak up myself, but I want to hide. That's how kind of ashamed I am right now. I'm not saying that breaking the needle is a bad thing. I'm just saying that it happens. Needle can break. It's a tool, so it can be broken. It can be bent. Some people may break it more than others. But it happens when we miss the communication, and if they're not experienced, it happens more often because we don't know how to communicate to the needle. But for me, that's bad. Like I want to just go somewhere and then hide. But yeah, I will keep coming back to this discussion if Sashiko is art. Well, Sashiko is not art to me. And if I were to make the wall hanging, yes, that can be considered as the art because it's like a display, exhibited. But at the same time, that's not my first choice. My first choice is always the item or sashiko that can be used in the daily life. So what I'm doing right now is not really my first choice. Well, it's one project. It's one project to enjoy and appreciate, but it's not the like I don't want to say authentic, but it's not the like the mainstream. Although right now the mainstream of Sashiko is probably something different. Well, so it's really important that somebody is at least talking about this, where the Sashiko becomes the art no matter what. That's the kind of discussion that I keep having it. One thing I can say for sure is that I don't want art to be the excuse to do whatever they want without even acknowledging or practicing or trying. What is that? Whoa, I cannot read that. My brain is kind ofミスはある？ちょっと待ってね。アーティストにもミスはある。すげえ。 あ、日本語だったんですね。アーティストにもミスはある。誰も知らないミスもある。これは、まあ、well, so the message was that artist can make a mistake and anybody can mistake and it can be unacknowledged. It can be not acknowledged. I don't consider what I did, like breaking the needle, as the mistake. It's how can I put it this way? Mistake is not something I experience right now. It's if it's a mistake, I wouldn't be ashamed this much. How can I put it this way? I will try to find the explanation somehow. It's not a mistake. If I don't want to categorize it as a mistake. What is it? It's more fundamental thing. Wow, that's a very good. It's a very good point. I cannot put this one into word, which means that this is something I need to try to put into the word. So if this is not a mistake, what would it be? Does breaking the needle means you weren't trying your best, or whatever the phrase was you mentioned last week? Even artists make mistakes, most people don't even know when they do. So that's not a mistake. That's not a mistake. It's not, yes, so accident is one thing. Accident is very closer. But accident doesn't fit my feeling 100% well. It's closer though. It's better. It's closer to my feeling. It's close to the neglect. Probably it's a neglect. So it's not a mistake. It can be considered as an accident, but it's kind of close to the neglect. So as much as I kind of pretended I was okay, it's something I truly ashamed of. Well, by saying that, it doesn't sound like it's something to ashamed of, but I cannot repeat it. I mean, breaking the needle itself, it is not okay, but doing that on the live streaming, how can I put it that way? Neglect is probably a better idea. It's unfortunate. It's the accident. It should not happen. I really want to try. Like this is quite important. I will try my best to put this one into the word and then rephrase it later on. But so the kind of timeline, the stories behind it is quite simple. This is my fundamental teaching that we always need to listen to the needle. Listen to not only the tool, not only the needle, listen to the tool. And I was not really listening to that today, and that's rare to happen, and that itself is bad to me, not anybody else. It's purely toward me. But Well, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that breaking the needle itself is a bad thing. It's just the story behind that incident is the things that it's the negligent. But we cannot control everything. Something happens. Yeah, this is probably something I have to work on. It's more kind of like a spiritual way. Sue is getting close. Sue is getting close, but it's not it though. So because I share that my negligence to the world through live streaming, it is bad. That is very, very close to that. But that's not 100% what I want to share. And I understand that Jessica and also tea with trash saying, sorry, not trash, Tash, tea with Tash saying, but that's the interpretation from your culture, and I appreciate it, but those are not what I'm trying to convey. Carelessness is one thing, but it's not it. It's one part of it. It's another probably concept of feeling that I cannot well translate or even verbalize that for that matter. And it's probably I have to do it first in Japanese and then try to find a way to somewhat translate it somehow. Because I cannot even think about it. Let me think about it in Japanese. Neglect is not the good word because if I translate it back to Japanese, then it's not it. Gosh, it's so difficult. This is something I have to sit. My brain's in English right now, so I cannot come up with anything. But it's really, really good learning curve that this is something I have to, not even have to, I like to tell. I like to share that something core about Sashiko. See, nobody's thinking about Sashiko this complex. Not a complex, this, I don't want to say deep, but it's troublesome, right? It's kind of too much no to many help. I just could have said yes, that's the mistake, yes, that was an accident. But I keep my best to articulate what it is. And that is the part that some Sashiko is missing right now in English. You chose to ignore what the needle was telling you. I'm sorry, this is probably something like that. Last week you asked why we come to this live streaming. I realized I come for the philosophy. Well, this one is not. I know. Sue likes probably this kind of topic, and I appreciate it. And it is not my intention to make it like a philosophy too, but just a second. I'll sit on that a little bit. It may be rather easier if I could focus on that, but everything I read so far in the comment is kind of on the line, but not on the spot, on it. So, and although I said neglect could be the one word for that, but again, I tried to translate the neglect to Japanese, and that's not it. Then the question is, what is it? Disrespect? No, that's not it. It leads to the shameful. That's the whole point. Like, I felt shameful that I did it, but what I'm trying to come up with, what brought me to this shameful feeling? So it is not shameful things to break the needle. Don't get me wrong. It is the shameful things. It's not the shameful thing to break the needle. It happens. So accident or mistake are description toward what happened. I'm not trying to explain that because that's what happened can be interpreted by anybody else. I mean, there's no wrong answer for that. If one thinks that it's the accident, it's the accident. If one thinks it's a mistake, it's a mistake. What I'm trying to kind of articulate is that what brought this to be sort of shameful is not also covering, gosh. I know, but stuff resonate with my thoughts throughout the week. No pressure to be a philosopher. Well, many people think me as the philosopher, although I'm not considering myself as a philosopher. But the way I think is so problematic, so troublesome. I don't want to be. I don't like philosophy, to be honest. It's not really my favorite, but I think like they do. Embarrassed that the needle broke during the streaming. That's the description of what happened. But that's not it. If that is that simple, yes, that's great, but it's not it. I'll probably have to go back to the Japanese after this live streaming. It's not my skill to be able to change my brain right now to Japanese. So I'll come back. It's more shameful that it's happening in front of the... No. Yes and no. I'm not really feeling embarrassing that it happened over the live streaming, but the fact that embarrassing is... Just a second. Wow, this is kind of key. This is the key. I would like to come to this. Because you did something that you think you shouldn't have done. That's also the description of what happened and what I did. That's kind of the result of what I'm trying to articulate. I'm not trying to describe what happened. I'm not, because what happened is what happened, and everybody's talking about it. It can be mistake, it can be accident. The point I'm trying to explain is that almost like a story behind that. Yeah, I can. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal for many people, and it's probably not a big deal to me that I just broke the needle. But it's I think I can explain that in Japanese, and I will do that in the next live streaming in Japanese. And I will come back with the talk that I did in Japanese, and I will make sure to translate everything as much as I can. But I think if I kind of keep thinking that in Japanese, I probably can do that. Oh, Sue even wrote it. Probably if you tell the story in Japanese to another Japanese person, they'll get it immediately. Probably yes, probably not. And I would like to try that. And I think I can explain that in Japanese. But it requires a little bit of conversation, or like a little bit of exchange of information. So I'll do it in the next week in Japanese. And I don't know. I don't know if I can. I think I will be able to, but I don't know if I want to share that I broke the needle to the other Japanese people. So that's another embarrassing part of this too. Language is so difficult. But this is what this is what the Lost in Translation is about. Not only like Wabi Sabi is a very good example that we interpret one concept into our language, and that language interpretation is already a simplification of our, whole picture, and then they translate it into the different language, going through the filter of that cultural barrier or cultural differences. And after that, people will start interpreting that translated version of the interpretation, and that interpretation can expand it to the other places. So after that three filters of interpretation and translation and interpretation, that becomes completely different thing. Well, not a completely different thing. It probably has the same color, but the taste or the inside, what happens is probably the different. And that's what happened to the Wabi Sabi. And it's not important for any Sashiko stitchers to go down this far or this deep or this like it's not meaningful to do it for anybody who wants to just enjoy Sashiko. But for me, as who kind of share the story or teach Sashiko, this carries the responsibility. Teaching carries the responsibilities, and it's more like my responsibility to articulate it. The feeling that I have, the feeling that brought me to the fact that I am embarrassed that I broke the needles in front of the live streaming, as well as the the fact that I broke the needle. There's something deeply rooted inside of me who bridged those accident, incident, mistake to the feeling, right? So that part makes what Sashiko is more Sashiko, because that is deeply inside of, I mean, that part is hugely influenced by Sashiko. Unfortunately, I don't know if I like it or not, because that's what identity is all about. Deep inside, you were frustrated in something when you broke the needle and it happened. So that's the kind of like direction I want to go. It's not. I'm not frustrated today. So it's that. It's if it's that, that's very, very straightforward and I like it. If I were frustrated, and then if that happens, it's very simple and I like it. It's very, I like it. But it just does not match. It just doesn't match. Well, in Japanese, probably "mujun" is gonna be the keyword to reach into it, but what I say and what I did was not aligned, right? Let me go from there. So the key is that there was this incident, this accident has created the gap between what I always say and what I did as the action in front of the camera. So that little imbalance itself is the gate to go into this. There gotta be a word. There gotta be like expression. There gotta be the sentence to describe it. But at this moment, I mean, my brain is kind of fried too. So I'll come back. I'll come back with this. I'll talk about it in next week for the Japanese, and then I'll come back to that. By the way, it's not good. It's okay for anybody to break the needle. It's not good for me. I am not happy with it. And that being said, there is something that I would like to share, and that's something I have to come up with. Okay, sorry about that. It's 1 hour, so I'll go back to sleep. Okay, thank you. Not go back to sleep. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm not gonna go back. I'm gonna go to sleep. Thank you so much for coming to the live streaming. I'm sorry, I kind of mumbled today. I don't even remember what I did for the last 30 minutes or so. I keep thinking about something else. And I really appreciate all the comments, trying to explain, trying to help me to come up with it. I really appreciate it. Just I'll focus. I'm gonna come back with it. So I'll talk to you next. I'll see you next Thursday, and I hope you have a good night. Thank you. Bye bye.